All right, welcome, Kas Knight fans. Welcome. Let's get hyped up, man.
Kas Knight.
Ecosystem, right? Kaspa ecosystem,
Kas
right?
Knight.
Used to be able to say that with Ethereum.
Kas Knight in the feet. Cold wrist. High leg. Cold chain, no code.
Yeah,
New lane.
Kas Knight.
Full spread.
Covering the Kaspa
I watched the
ecosystem.
chart
Right,
twitch.
here we go,
While they
y'all.
chase fake shine. I was on the back
man.
end, counting up in real time. Wallet on lock. Keys tucked, no noise. If it ain't built
man,
right,
this is gonna be a
I
good
don't hear those boys. Moose up,
SilverScript, y'all.
let the patience talk. They don't want fast fame. I want the whole vault. Tick, tick, hold that. Let it breathe, let it grow.
Let it one move.
One move, then snap. And the whole room, no. Kas Knight, all in on the rise. Kas Knight, CT it in my eyes. Stack high, stay tight, never fold, never.
Y'all hyped up, man? I'm just gonna. That's enough. That's enough for the intro music, man. I'm psyched up, man. I gotta start talking about this freaking project, right? SilverScript Studio. Welcome to the Kas Knight channel, right? Yeah. SilverScript Studio is just one of many amazing apps that they're building on Kaspa, right? Dude, it built on Kaspa. Oh man, we're gonna look at it right now. I just did another video where I covered 3 different projects, right? And then when I ran into this one, right, when I was prepping, it had to have its own video, right? So what the heck is SilverScript Studio? Well, I'm gonna show you right now, dude. Right? So like, it doesn't look. You're like, whoa, that looks like some just like super techie stuff, right? Right? Don't get intimidated by it, right? Because it's kind of the super techie stuff. It's the super awesome techie stuff that's behind Kaspa and covenants, right? And programmable money and stuff like that, right? Right? The whole all right, so normal money tells you how to own it, right? Programmable money, right? Programmable money uh uh can also tell you when it moves, right? Who can move it, why it moves, right? And what happens if certain conditions are met, right? So let's start looking at some of this stuff, right? And this is how you this thing right here is how you implement some of this stuff into if something you're building, right? Like I'm gonna be building vanilla gorilla dap, right? You know, it's gonna be sick, right? It's gonna help, you know, people like me and other developers developing stuff, make it easier for our family who want to support us to do that, to be supportive, right? Watch that video. That's a whole nother video. But this one, we're talking about SilverScript Studios, right? So this one helps you put all Caspa's amazing stuff with SilverScripts, right? SilverScript is a code that we use to write, all the rules inside of covenants, right? Whether you're using it to do transactions, or if you're using it to do, whatever specific thing you wanted to do on your specific dApp that you're building, right? With Caspa, dude, right? Because everybody's freaking building on Kaspa, right? Including me, dude. I was just started out with a meme coin. That one went down. I think that was God telling me, no, do it better, right? You got to have some utility to it, right? And the utility is a little bit down the road, but it's in the roadmap, dude. I'll drop the roadmap, and I'm gonna drop a white paper roadmap, dude. All that stuff, right? I'm doxed, right? I'm not your normal founder, right? I'll show other meme coins, right? I have showed other meme coins, right? And I'll continue to do so, right? If you're building on Kaspa, you are my friend. You were on the same team, dude. You're not my competitor. You're my brother. And let's show the world what this thing can do, right? Whether you're a meme coin, whether you got a meme coin idea or some kind of problem that you think you can solve using this amazing stuff. Because we're just getting started with this stuff, right? Okay. We're just getting started with this stuff, man. Share this video, dudes. Tell people, right? I'm about to show you some amazing stuff that Kaspa can do, right? Right. So look, let's start looking at some stuff, right? All right. So what do we want to look at first? You want to look at the dead man switch? Let's look at the dead man switch, right? So you come on here, right? You go to SilverScript Studios, right? You're saying, all right, I want to look, I want a dead man switch, right? So what is this, right? Well, it's a dead man switch, right? So if you die, your money goes where you want it to go, right? It's like a will, but enforced by code, right? You lock funds in a contract with a countdown timer, right? If you don't check in before the timer runs out, tick, 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 bong, right? The funds become claimable by your chosen beneficiary, right? They still need to sign a transaction, right, to collect every time you check to collect, but every time you check and every time you check in, the timer resets, right? So inactivity trigger, right? Funds become claimable by the beneficiary only if the owner goes silent for the specified period, right? And you could put the parameters in there, and I'll show you that in a minute, right? The beneficiary must still sign a transaction to collect, right? They're gonna have a Kasware wallet, right? So whoever you're giving it to, make sure they got a Kasware wallet or whatever wallet, some kind of a Kaspa wallet. There's other ones. That's just the one I know. I know there's a couple other awesome ones out there too. So I'm not leaving you out. Holler at me if you want me to shout you out. I'll even do a video on your if you got a cool Kaspa wallet. I'll do a video and tell people about it, man, for free, right? I'm not paid to do any of this crap. I get paid by being the guy who gets to tell people about Caspa, right? Maybe eventually, I got a link right on my look on my ex. Look at this right here. Getting value from the content. Show a fellow Caspian some love. You can hit the link right in the bottom. Ping pong cast tip. That was part of the ecosystem thing I just did. So I was like, oh, I want a link, right? And I was like, oh, let's see if it works. Bing bong. Yeah. So if you guys if you learned something and you want to throw me, 25 cents in Caspa, you could do that, right? How cool is that, right? So anyway, dude. So um, but look, an inactivity trigger, right? So if I got $1 million worth of Caspa, right, or Kas Knight or whatever, right, and I die tomorrow, dude, my wife doesn't know how to do all this stuff. How's she gonna get the crypto, right? She gonna have to hire somebody and pay them to figure it out, dude. And hopefully, where's this password book and like all this stuff, right? And then she gives it to him, and she got to hope they don't take everything else that she's not knowing they're looking at, and all kind of crazy messed up stuff can happen, right? Or you could just have it to where it automatically goes to her, right? Funds become available after I haven't touched the wallet for a while. Because I touch my wallet all the time, every day. If I haven't touched it in 150 days, probably a good number or a good round number. That's what I would set it at, right? 5 months, then put the money in my wifey's wallet, right? All of it, right? That's my wifey. She gets everything, right? And what if you don't really actually, what if you just got married, right? What if you God forbid you get, dun, 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 I do, kiss the bride. All right, we're going to spend the rest of our life together. And then the rest of your life ends up being one day or something, or 1 week or something, right? But you still want your wifey to have the money, right? You want that, right? After 150 days or 90 days or however long you want to put on there, right? It just goes to your beautiful wife, right? And then she doesn't have to worry about having to go out and figure out how to, pay the bills and stuff like that just because you fell off a cliff and died on impact. Or whatever happened, you know what I mean? But anyway, so or you can use it. This could work for an inheritance, right? If you pass crypto to family members without sharing private keys, they can sign and claim transaction only after you've been inactive, right? So, like, I got a little niece, right? She's awesome, right? She's low income family, right? She's getting ready to go into school, and I think someday she's got potential, right? She goes to school and then she freaking gets her degree and she becomes a scientist or, a doctor or a lawyer or freaking has her own freaking convenience store or whatever happens, right? She does something and doesn't become cracked out on the streets, right? If she's doing good, then she gets this money, if this inheritance, right? And it'll go right to her. And then if I die, she'll get it quicker or whatever because I'm dead, right? Whatever. Just give her the money, right? So it'll have the dead man switch part, right? You could put all these parameters on the money, right? How is this is so amazing, dude, to me, dude. Like I'm like, this is crazy. Like, so what? So that's the main thing, right? When you build something, right, you want to know what does it do, right? Right? And then and does it solve a problem? And is people are gonna want it, right? So what this does is it locks Caspa under the rules that we say basically. If I stop checking in for X amount of days, my freaking person who I choose gets my money. Period. Right? No banks involved. Nobody saying you got to give me a cut too somewhere along the way or whatever. I mean, you pay your taxes and all that stuff, of course, right? Right? What problem does it solve? Inheritance recovery without needing somebody else to hold your keys, right? Before, wills, banks, executors, probate, lawyers, trustees, paperwork, all these freaking things, right? That's a whole bunch of crap for someone who just already dealing with someone just died, right? Now I got to deal with all this lawyers and bloodsuckers. F that, right? Dead man switch. Enter Caspa, right? Enter Caspa, bro. Caspa. Programmable money, right? Thank you, Michael Sutton. Thank you, Jonathan Samplinsky. We're not worthy, right? They're just kidding, right, dude? I mean, only God's that's that all the that glory goes to Jesus. So I'm just kidding, but I'm being funny, right? But this is amazing. This is so amazing stuff, right? All right. All right. So spending conditions can be built into the money itself as well, right? Your 150, right? All right. if you keep checking in, the timer resets, by the way. Don't let me forget that, right? So, like, if I check in tomorrow, then the 150 days starts again, right? If I, forget to do it for 148 days, and I'm like, oh crap, I better check in. And all you do is you go onto the thing, you check in, it's like you send yourself a transaction or something, right? A transaction takes place, it resets the timer, right? So then another 150 days has to go by to prove that you're dead before they get your money. You don't want just your money actually. Oh man, I forgot to check in. You want to set it for a week, right? Yeah. Oh man, I forgot to check in. All of a sudden, my freaking cousins got freaking $1 million. I didn't want to give it to them until they graduated high school. Now they're 14 and they got it. You know what I mean? You got to make sure you said it right because you are in charge of all this stuff. This is so much fun, dude. Like, I'm having a blast, dude. And thank you guys for all the support, dude. You guys could tell that I'm happy, that I'm really enthusiastic about this stuff, and that's what people are telling me, and I like that kind of feedback, right? And dude, that's the best compliment ever because I am genuine about this stuff. I do genuinely love Kaspa, right? I'm not nobody's payroll. I've covered a whole bunch of projects. No, but no, I haven't been compensated for none of that, and I'm not saying nobody owes me nothing. They do not owe me a dime. They don't owe me nothing, bro. Right? I'm doing this because I love Casper and I'm passionate about Casper, right? And I started out like, what can I build? Oh, I think I can pull off launching a meme coin, right? Now I'm doing an extraction layer freaking DApp. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be part of the crypto, and it'll give Kas Knight some utility. It's eventually this is awesome, dude. Right? So check that out, right? I dropped out in here. Check out. You got to keep up with my X page. KASKNIGHTDAG, right? If you're watching this on YouTube, right? Kas Knight Dag, dude, right? That's how you'll see the crazy white bunny, right? Right. I'm doing raps, right? I'm doing videos, educational videos, right? I'm reposting the awesome people who are super intelligent, Caspa, right? Who are doing all this cool stuff, right? I'm showing everybody, look what everybody else is building, right? I'm a Caspian, right? First, right? I'm a Caspian first. If the meme coin makes it, awesome, right? Who doesn't want to be a bazillionaire from freaking launching their own meme coin, right? But if it don't, so be it, right? I'm gonna donate a bunch of that stuff anyway if I become a bazillionaire, right? I don't need all that money. I'm gonna build more stuff on Caspa and give it to the people. I'll keep some of it, dude. All right. I'm not saying I'm not gonna keep no money. But dude, I'm doing this for the glory, right? For the fun of it, right? For the education. There's a whole bunch of reasons, not just money, right? Right? So anyway, so it's important to know though, this is not magically erase probate, right? Taxes, creditors, claims, other laws. It controls blockchain spending conditions, not the legal system, right? All right. Now, let's go back, right? Let's hit this little refresh button, right? You get the gist of that part, right? Cool. Dead man switch. How awesome is that, right? That's not it, right? That's just one of the things this freaking app does, dude. This thing is freaking awesome. Like, here's the code part, right? You just copy this code to add part of it, I guess, something like that, right? Look, compiler output hex inspector. See, this stuff looked intimidating to me at first. I almost didn't cover it because of that. I was like, this is what the website looks like. I was like, dang, what am I going to tell people about this? And then I started clicking on stuff, right? Where's the payroll one, right? This one blew my freaking mind, right? Now, what the heck, right? All right, so what does this do, right? A client locks payments first. Worker can see it there, and the contract defines what happens under different outcomes, dude. Right, like a freelance escrow, right? It says like freelance escrow built-in arbitration, right? A client locks funds before the work begins. The worker sees the money, it's reserved, and can start with confidence, right? So like, I don't know if you're like in Arizona, right? In Arizona, right? There's a Home Depot, home base, right? Where you buy the wood and the nails and all the stuff for building houses and stuff like that. And we're right next to Mexico, dude. And there's a lot of undocumented immigrants that don't have the ID all the time and stuff like that. So they just work. They sit outside of Home Depot with their tools, and they're hard workers, right? They're capable, very hardworking people, right? Good people, right? And then someone will pick them up and they're like, look, man, I can give you like $8 under the table, right? Right. And I'm not co-signing on this. I'm just telling you what happens, right? And how this correlates to it, right? How this could help people, right? So these people, right? Sometimes the guy will be like, I'll give you $80 for 10 hours worth of work, 8 hours a day, right? But and I'll just give you a $100 or say $100 bill, right? $10 an hour, right? For 10 hours, right? I'll give you $100 bill at the end of the day. At the end of the day, he's like, oh man, I got as many $100 bills as I thought, right? You two are gonna have to split it, man. You guys didn't really work that hard, right? You're like, oh man, what the heck, man? You're sweating. You're like, I busted my butt. What are you talking about? So you had to trust the guy, right? So this way you don't have to trust nobody, right? Yeah, right. Right. That think about this, right? The problem it solves, right? Will this dude actually pay me, right? Right. Before what happened, right? You have a handshake, an invoice, bank transfer, escrow company, a lawsuit if things go sideways or whatever, right? Now, right, money can be reversed, right? First and released only under agreed rules, bro, right? Possible pass, right? Right? Read this stuff. Check this stuff out, right? Possible pass. Both agree. Workers get paid, right? If there's a dispute, right, an arbiter handles it, right? There's a timeout and a recovery path, right? Right? All right. This is so exciting to me, dude. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I got like a bazillion thoughts going through my head, going right. All right, but don't promise me you'll pay me the fund don't promise you'll pay me. Just fund the contract, basically, right? That was sorry, that was a note. I didn't read it right. So basically, yeah. So what I'm saying is like, I don't want to take your word for it, right? If I'm out there busting, if I'm out there, if I, and I get in the back of your truck and I go and I bust my butt and I swing a hammer and I bang a freaking bunch of nails and some boards all day, give me my freaking $100, right? Right. So now I can have you just put it in there. I can see it's in there, right? Right. Covenant enforces the payout rules. It does not magically know whether the construction job was done correctly or everything right. Humans, Oracle signers still have to establish the real world facts, right? But still, dude, I could see ahead of time that the boss put the money there, right? So at the end of the day, if the work's done, I get my freaking money, right? I don't really gotta trust the guy to keep his word at the end of it. At the end of the day, right? You gotta keep the word at the beginning of the day. That's even better, right? So so that's awesome, right? So now what else, right? And I generalized, dude. Do your own research, but how this is awesome. This is gonna change the freaking world, bro. This stuff's gonna change the world. And I'm like, I love Mexican people, right? I live in Arizona, man. I even speak a little Spanish, uh, you know, so I'm not hating on nobody. Don't take none of that wrong. That was just an example, real world example from my own childhood and growing up in Arizona, right? Now also they got a time locked vault feature, right? Let's find that over here, right? Time locked vault, right? So what's that, right? Right? What it does, it makes Kaspa unspendable until a date or an amount of time passes, right? It's what it sounds like. Safe with the timer, right? Imagine locking money in a safe that physically can't be opened until a set date, right? No one, even you, can access the funds early. The blockchain enforces the lock, right? So it's locked, right? So you put your money, it's like a savings account, right? Absolute lock, right? Is cannot spend it before June 1st, 2026, right? Time lock, right? The transaction timestamp must be met after the deadline. That shit locked in, right? Or you can have a relative one, right? You must wait 30 days after the deposit, right? The UTXO must age before it's spendable, right? 30 days, right? Right. All right. Use cases, right? Savings goals, right? Token vesting, right? How cool is that, right? The token vesting, right? You can be like, these tokens don't unlock until this amount of time, right? Can't have no weird backdoors freaking all of a sudden coming out, right? It's coded in here, right? All right, future dated payments, right? So you can put stuff aside, so you don't spend it, right? You put it in there, and then it only goes away if it's gonna pay that certain bill, right? So you can worry about like your kid goes off to school, and you want to make sure the car insurance gets paid, so yada yada yada, right? You cover it for them or something like that. I think you do that, right? Don't kill me if that's not a way you can apply this, right? But preventing panic selling, right? You could be like, all right, I'm gonna buy this Castle and I'm gonna lock it up right here, dude, and I'm not gonna freaking sell it until the end of the bull run, right? When do you think the end of the bull run? Well, it'll at least be this year, right? So let me sell it until 2029 or whatever the heck, right? And then you're screwed if you try to sell it, right? Nope. Sorry, even you can't do it, right? That's basically how that works, right? So this dude Caspa is changing the world with this stuff, right? All right, you can make money that even you can't spend until the rules say that you can, right? Right? You can put rules on yourself, you can put rules on other people, right? It can literally refuse to let the coins move early, right? right? You right before you have to trust yourself. You have to trust a bank, lock up, right? You got to trust a custodian, right? Now you don't got to do none of that, right? Now you can do it right here with SilverScript Studio, dude. How freaking cool is that? Look at this, dude, right? If you do it right, you just write your contract name, owner name, right? You want an absolute lock, relative lock, right? If you got a relative lock, how many days, right? You want to put in 300 days, right? You want to put 365 days, right? Whatever you want to do, right? Bing, bong, right? And then, how freaking cool is that? Right? Now let's look at recurring payments because that's not all. You're like, what? There's more? Yeah, there's more, dude. There's a lot more, bro. I can't even cover it all, right? So, but we're gonna cover this part, right? Recurring payments, right? Look at this, right? What's a recurring payment, right? It's an automated payment but on chain, right? Contract holds a pool of funds and releases a fixed pledge to a beneficiary on a schedule. Anyone can trigger the payment, right? The contract does the math. Remaining funds stay locked for the payment. Self sustaining. Each payment automatically sends change back to the contract for the next cycle. Anyone can trigger the beneficiary or the third party can trigger the payment once the period elapses, right? The funder keeps control. The person who funded the contract can reclaim all remaining funds at any time, right? Covenant powered. It uses transaction introspection to enforce output, destinations, and amounts. Who uses this, right? DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations paying contributors, subscription services, charity pledges, any scenario requiring periodic automated payments, dude. Dude, this is awesome, dude, right? There's a little freaking right. There's the visual, right? Funded, trigger, split, pledge, recipient, right? And then repeat, right? Boom, right? This is put all the stuffs in there, right? Dude, this stuff, right? This stuff is changing the world, man, right? So, all right, so in a nutshell, what it does is it's right. You set a recipient, an amount, an interval, fund it, right? There you go, recipient public key, payment amount, right? Days between payments, right? Every 30 days, right? You do every week, right? Whatever you want to do, right? Recurring payments, right? Amount per transaction, right? You could be like, I want to give you 100 Kaspa. What's 100 Kaspa? $3. We'll give you 1,000 Kaspa. $30, right? Every week, right? Give $30 a week. That'll cover your gas for the week, right? To get back and forth to school, kid, right? Right? Contract name, recurring payment, funder, public key, recipient, public key, right? From my wallet to your wallet, dude. Right? Every 7 days, send them $1,000. Send my kid $1,000 so I can use it for gas or whatever the heck you want to do, dude. How badass is this, right? Right? I don't gotta trust my kid, I mean, you gotta trust your kid a little bit, but I'm just saying, dude, all this stuff's trustless. I don't need no bank intermediaries in between none of this stuff, right? And that's and there's more stuff, dude. There's more. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about third party escrow, right? Let's talk about wait, I mean two party escrow, not third party. Two party escrow, right? Right? What is two party escrow? Like buying something on eBay with a twist, right? You send money into a neutral smart contract. The seller can claim it anytime by proving their identity. What if they never deliver it, though, would you say, right? After a timeout, you get your money back automatically. No middleman needed, right? The bank don't need to be open. The app doesn't have to not be having a glitch or whatever. Or maybe the app, I don't know. Maybe the DApp can have a glitch, whatever, right? Right? That's not the point, right? You don't have to trust people, right? Right? There's two spend paths. The recipient can claim anytime or the sender reclaims after the timeout, right? Automatic refund, like we said, right? Trustless, neither party can cheat. That's the big part, right? The contract enforces the rules. There's no escrow or agent, right? No fees, right? Who uses this? Peer-to-peer trades, freelance payments, marketplace transactions, anywhere two parties need to exchange value, right? There's the little right deposit, right? Path, right? Or path A or path B, right? There's the code. This stuff is amazing, dude, right? So, dude, right? So, what it does in a nutshell, right? Right? It holds funds neutrally until the permitted conditions decide who gets them, right? Right? Recipient public key, right? Right? Problem it solves buyer seller trust, right? You don't gotta trust people, right? That's what I keep saying. I'm beating it to death, but that's important to people, right? There's a bunch of people who are not as honest, right, as you would like them to be, right? Especially in the business field, right? You know, I can think of a bazillion examples, right? If you're out there and you need it, you know what I'm talking, right? Before you trust a stranger to pay, and before you had to trust a stranger or pay an escrow company, right? Now the money sits neutral until the rules say where it goes, right? The money doesn't have to trust either person. The money does what it's supposed to do because that's what it's coded to do. That's what covenants did. That's what Jonathan Sampolinsky and freaking Michael Sutton pulled off here, man. Is that freaking awesome, dude? You guys are so amazing, man. I hope to someday I get to meet you, man. All right. What else? What else, Kas Knight? What else can this do? You say, right? A lot, right? A whole bunch. It can do. We're changing the world, right? I'm just showing people about it, right? I'm not changing the world. I'm just turning the light on. Kas Knight to hit you with the flashlight signal, right? All right. Hash lock. Where's it at? Hash lock swap, right? Here we go. What is a hash lock swap, right? Life changing sealed envelopes with a code word, right? Alice locks funds with a secret code. Bob can only claim the funds with revealing the original secret that matches the hash. If Bob never reveals the secret, Alice can sign a refund transaction after a timeout and get her money back, right? This is the foundation of atomic swaps and cross chain trading, right? What's the secret? I don't know. Say you got to testify against the mafia boss, freaking John Gotti, all right, and then we'll give you this money, and then you don't got to go to prison. I don't know. I always think of a criminal freaking thing. I gotta break that habit, right? But anyway, but whatever, right? So what's a what's example? We'll go with our example instead. Hash locks. Funds are locked behind uh SHA 256 hash. Only someone who knows the pre-mid secret can claim them, right? So if you don't give it up, they're not gonna come up. And, all right, there's a time lock, there's atomic swaps, right? And there's payment channels, right? Right before exchanges in custody, you had exchange custodian, middleman, things like that, right? Now you got cryptographic conditions and a refund path, dude, right? So either the cryptographic condition gets satisfied or the money comes home. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? That's the easiest way to put it, right? So this is just Kaspa fixing everything, man. This is Kaspa helping us get out of our own way, right? Right? Timeout days, secret hash, right there, right? Sender key, recipient key, right? Hash lock swap, right? There it is, right there, right? So I mean, imagine if Satoshi, right, had this from day one, right? He could have programmed freaking like he could have said, right, an inheritance, a permanent lock, a bargain condition, a public benefit treasury, right? Right? A final message, right? Whatever, right? A future release based on measurable Oracle confirmed conditions, right? 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 Or like say a code, right? Like Satoshi could have said like once we get mass adoption and the Genius Act and the freaking Clarity Act is signed, right? Take take my freaking 5% of Bitcoin and pay off part of the national debt with it. But they gotta stay on the freaking Bitcoin standard or whatever he says that they gotta do, right? If they do it right, they pass the Genius Act pass, the freaking Clarity Act pass. Boom, right? All of a sudden Satoshi pops up and says, all right, dude, I'm burning those tokens, or I'm going to use them to pay part of the debt, or I'm going to donate them I'm going to put them to work on the new Medicare program, and this is how it's going to work, and part of this is going to pay the people, right? And people can donate, or oh, whatever. He could have coded it whatever he want with his money, right? That hasn't moved, right? He ain't going to spend it. He'd have bought his mom a house a long time ago if he was going to spend that, right? So instead of just leaving it there, he could have been more deliberate about it, right? That's all I'm saying, right? Or another idea, right? A founder, right? Hitting attached, right? So say I know Kas Knight, becomes the biggest meme coin on Kaspa, right? When that happens, right? What if the founder could write one final instruction in the money, right? If this technology succeeds, if this meme coin succeeds, right? If Nilla Gorilla freaking becomes the best extraction layer for new people getting into crypto, right? So when a founder launches a coin, right, and his grandma and his cousins are all just say, I'm gonna use Nilla Gorilla. Nilla, I want to buy $1,000 of my nephew's new meme coin. I heard it's gonna be the biggest meme coin on Caspa, right? Can you handle that for me, right? Nilla's like, okay, I'm gonna freaking use this launch pad, this freaking whatever that yada yada yada. Come back to you, right? But anyway, right? what if a founder could write one instruction into the money? If this happens, right, and I become a millionaire, right, in my freaking founder wallet, right, and then I freaking croak or whatever the heck, right? It goes to my people, or it goes to a charity line, or it starts burning every time, every time it prints 3 monthly red candles in a row, freaking burn a million Kas Knight tokens. I don't know. You could get fun with it, right? Right? Or right, things like Congress passes a law or ETFs. I don't. You can go super far down the rabbit hole, but this is why I'm excited, right? Kaspa isn't just becoming faster money, guys, right? Developers are starting to make the money itself programmable, dude, right? So I'm not telling you every one of these projects is finished, audited, or like mainnet ready or perfect, right? But I'm telling you this, right? What people are building on Castle right now, I'm gonna keep shining the flashlight on it because it's amazing and it's life changing, and I'm so grateful to you hardworking people out there. See, I didn't know a lot of this technology, right? Yeah, and I'll tell my whole story one of these days, right? I'm gonna tell my story, right? And you guys will be oohing and on like, holy crap, this dude went through some shit, right? And but dude, I'm very grateful. I feel blessed to be a part of this, dude. Aha, oh my gosh, what? Caspa does what? And XRP, you got to be kidding me. That's stuff's laughable, bro. Right? Fake news hit you with the gaslight. Simple, Kas Knight hit you with the flashlight signal, right? Dude, and I'll show you some charts on the outro, man. And like, this is the one I wrote, and I'm showing you different, like, intro and outro. I'm doing different versions of the Kas Knight songs, all right? I wrote the words to some of them, and then AI and my friends helped me do the beat part, right? And then, dude, man, so much going on, right, dude? But tell me what you think, which ones you like, and stuff like that. And then we're gonna add like art and like comics, and some of these things are gonna have Kas Knight comics like animated.
Stand back, homies, get on back. It's a rap now. Kas Knight rapping, I'ma show you where we at now. Dag rabbit flowing with the track that be blowing like a gap. Why be strapped, fam? Crap happens where we at. So here's the flow, here we go. Yo, Warren Rabbit with the glasses, follow the way. Crash little rabbit here to educate the masses. Only spit the facts, man, and block dag. Simply where the future's at, fam. So get the stacking Kas, fam. Every single day and every way that we can think to make it happen. Block dag and Kaspa. What the kids be yelling from the back, bruh? Holy moly, holy what? Holy effing crap, man. Kaspa's Kas Knight can really effing rap, man. Never ever saw it coming, nah, bro. Never knew this crazy shit could happen. Little Warren Rabbit in a mask, vigilante black leather pants. Cold in here, we going with the flow. Wait, whoa, what the F is that, man? Man, is that the effing Batman symbol? Nah, man, that ain't Batman. That's a rabbit with the mask, it's the Kas Knight signal. Whoa, man, and who's that with him? Guardians of the dag, man. Holy effing crap, man. The hell with effing Batman. Kas Woman, Kas Knight, and Kas Kong coming with the smash, fam. Dag Knight putting Cappy on the crypto map, man. Yeah, we did it in a flash, man. Block dagging on the fast track, and we ain't never looking back.
Keep coming with
It's
these
a wrap.
videos with this ecosystem stuff, man. Kas Knight out.